Good afternoon. Alan Hoare here from TU Dublin and the Construction IT Alliance. You're very welcome to the 5th instalment of our Circular Economy series in the built environment in association with the Chartered Institute of Building, Irish Green Building Council and Galway Mayo Institute of Technology. So today we're very fortunate to have an integrated case study presentation from Spain. So I'd like to welcome all our Spanish friends this afternoon. This is unique in that we're going to be talking about a particular building in Spain where circular economy principles have been utilized in the design and construction and operation of this building. So our three speakers this afternoon are Immaculada Simo, Nazi Kobina, and Jordi Paris. So you're all very welcome. Immaculada, you're very welcome. Immaculada is married with a mother of 3 children and a professional in real estate sector since 1987. She's an economist and has an MBA from IESE. She's convinced of the need for continuous training in these times of continuous change that we live in. She is focused on improving the real estate sector with proposals worthy of the 21st century, and at the same time working towards a better world. From Gonzi 4.0, she has led the commitment to reinvent the role of the developer for the 21st century, to achieve real sustainability based on circular economy and collaborative work in order to make this possible. Her favorite word is Ubuntu, which is from the Nelson Mandela South African tribe, meaning I am because you are. How can one of us be happy if others are sad? Proof of all of this is her most recent project located in Vila de Canes, the Gonzi Socrates Bio Building, which is the subject of our presentations today. One of the most advanced buildings in terms of sustainability and well-being in Europe. You're very welcome, Immaculada, if you'd like to share your presentation with us this afternoon. And welcome everyone to the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you to everybody that has been possible this presentation. I'm talking to you from Barcelona, Spain, and I'm here to share with you my experience, our experience in building the bio building Gonzi Socrates in Vila de Canes, who is a small town close to Barcelona, and very, as you will see at the end of the presentation, it's quite close to the airport of Barcelona airport. So my presentation will be focused in 2 main points. One is why we are here today talking about the circular economy, and the second will be the SWOT, the analysis of the circular economy developed in this building. No? Why here you can see the first taste of what we are talking about. Here is the building. It seems here more isolated than it's really. It is because this is the photographer has taken the picture from a certain places that seems that is isolated, and it's not. This is a business environment. Here in this building next to is Unilever has the offices here, and a taste of what you will see here could be recognized in these pictures. No, why we are here today talking about circular economy? Simple answer: because most of the present economic systems worldwide are linear. Linear, it means that the waste is part of the process, and the reason why we are in this position is because the Industrial Revolution 2 centuries ago was linear instead of being circular. the linear economy was pretending to increase production, and the industrial model was designed by engineers. And on my own point of view, they are based in 3 points that has caused a lot of trouble for the development of the system, of the linear system. One is that one suppose was that the raw materials were unlimited, and that's not true. Another is that the consumption capacity of people is infinite, and that is not true. And another thing is that model has not environmental constraints, no? And this is what we see, that it could not be that way, no? The linear economy generates waste that is becoming a serious environmental problem nowadays, no? But it has been caused by more than 1 century working linear, no? This is the picture that could reflect more what is happening now. We are in the second position, recycling economy, because we have bring so much waste to the planet that the public sector has to interview, sometimes according with the private and sometimes not, to recycle the waste of the industrial process, no? But our objective is the other one, is the circular economy that don't let space to the waste, no? But looking at it from an economical point of view, no? For me, the circular economy is the sustainability of the 21st century. Our experience in this building, in the bio building, Gonsi Socrates. Gonsi is a real estate commercial asset developer and manager. According to the corporate social responsibility of Gonsi, we have built the commercial bio building Socrates in Viladecans, Barcelona, under the circular economy paradigm. What are the key points of this development? One is the construction system. The construction system was pre-industrialized and pre-manufactured with pre-industrialized and pre-manufactured solution, assembled in a state of amalgamate. That's a key point of to make the circular process happen. Another thing is that how we order the relationship between persons, no? Between all the integrants of the contract of the work. Is the relationship between partners has been through an integrated project delivery contract, what is known as an IPD, between the architect, the constructor, and the developer. No? Another thing is that we have been using the technology as an ally. I mean, we have done our best with that, because in our sector, in the technological point of view, at least in Spain, it's not very. It's very in a high level. Another key point for me is that always when we plan it and when the architects design it and when we decided to build this building, we're always looking at the life cycle of the building. That includes the maintenance period and the construction of the building. This building has a deconstruction planning. One thing that it's framed on the IPD is that we need to manage the talent. So the project has been a talent management, applying, for example, techniques of people management in high performance teams. In this picture we are members of the different. These are from the constructor. Here is the architecture, and here are Gonsi people. No, or this person was the project coach that helps to align all the integrants. But after the experience, and when you invite me to this talk, I did a SWOT analysis that is trying to share with you the strengths, the weakness, the opportunity, and the threats that the experience of building a building under circular economy criteria has appeared. No? And for example, let's begin with the strength. No, we are, as I have said in the beginning, we build our buildings and manage all the building, and we rent the buildings. So we manage the renting, and so we have get with this building to position our asset in a 21st century. No, because most of the buildings are in the 20th century. For the characteristics. And a strong thing was that the talent management has enriched the process and the final product. Building under circular economy paradigm requires talent management because knowledge is spread in different areas and professionals. Another key point of the success of this project has been the values that all the members of the IPD required to live in a circular, has required to live in this project that need to be more humanistic than materialistic, or perhaps it was not materialistic, perhaps it was more technical. It should be more humanistic than technical. No? We propose it and try to live with confidence, with justice, with transparency in the common interest. That was the project. We live the respect and the honesty. And that was values that were put in the table in the beginning of the project. No? Another strength is we have contributed a bit to the care of the common house as Pope Francis invited us in the Laudato Si encyclica. No? The care of the common house that is the world. I think it's a responsibility that all citizens could begin to assume as part of it. No? The weakness of this process, some of them I want to underline four, is the risk of a pioneer. No, from the industrial point of view, the industry is not already prepared to this kind of project. No. There is a delay of the sector to catch the train, no? Really, not only in the industrial point of view, but also in the managing relationships and all these things. No? Another weakness is projects analysis overly focused in short-term profit, a limited scope. Here, all the time that during the construction, all the members should be always looking at the project. The objective, we have a common project altogether that unifies our thinking. And we were looking all the times at the same time the project. And another weakness is that still suppliers are anchored in a linear model. No? The opportunities that brings this new concept, no, is build considering a lifetime of the building could reduce future investments and expenses in the building, no? An opportunity is to be able to close the economical cycle by catching value at the demolition or rehabilitation time. I mean, circular economy, it's an economy. I mean, it should be considered in economical point of view. Another opportunity could be that develop the sector according to the present. As I've told you before, our sector, at least what I know here in Spain, is a bit in the last century, in the 20th century, not in the 21. No? And that opportunity, it's an opportunity to make the project more visible. That's why we are here, no? Talking to you. And the threats, no? For me, an important threat is how the political system support and collaborate to accompany this economical revolution, but because the circular economy is a revolution from my own point of view, no? There is a threat also that the dispersion and fragmentation of the knowledge. I mean, the architect has not all the knowledge, the constructor has not all the knowledge, and the developer has not all the knowledge. I mean, I have had the developer has more knowledge about the client behavior. The architect has more knowledge about the architecture point of view, and the constructor, and this constructor that has been constructed the company, has more, it's very well in, and he has decided to take this path, the circular economy construction. No? So the knowledge was not only in one page, and this dispersion and fragmentation, it's a problem because in this sector we are used to work in a separate, from separate points of view. No? It's a threat also to see the circular economy models as an opportunity of doing good and doing well, because you should see more things about the building when you work circular in a circular point of view. No? And this is a threat also to close the circular cycle on an industrial point of view. That is because now it's quite difficult to close we know the material. There is a material passport of the building that Jordi will explain later, and Ignasi. But I mean, there is no the path and how to take the advantage of the value of the materials included in the building is not already designed. Designed is designed, but it's not really executed. I mean, we could not execute sometimes because the industrial is not prepared to use second-hand materials. No, this is a bit briefing of the characteristic of the building, the city that is close, Viladecans, that is close to Barcelona, and you can see here a bit how we describe on a client point of view. That's it. Thank you. Thank you very much for your attention. And I think Ignasi will increase the view.
Thank you, Immaculata. That was very powerful message. And I say visibility is so important, isn't it? That's why you're here. That's why I searched for you and found you. Just as a client, could I ask one question of you?
Yes.
When you go about selecting your preferred architect, engineer, contractor, how important is circular economy to your business, and to what extent do you require these companies to think circular?
That has been a key point when we build the team, because we share this purpose. It was around the circular economy, and that is not big. Peak Architects, it has had a tradition on sustainability. We were his clients for a long time, and the constructor was the first experience with the constructor. But the constructor also was his strategic vision is the circular economy. So it was key point to make it. We have in our social responsibility, the social responsibility of the company has the value of the sustainability. We did our last building we made it in 2008, and it was also sustainable. according to the criteria of that time, of the 2008. And in 2017, we decided to build this one. I faced what was the sustainability now, what was supposed to be sustainable nowadays. And I found through Ignasi introduced me to the circular economy.
So it's interesting, because at the last event we heard a lot from public authorities, local authorities, and we were asking and discussing and the idea that the local authorities through government policy would stipulate that this is now a requirement. If you want a permission to build in our city, in our location, you must use these principles. So thank you so much. We have a few questions there. I might just ask one question of Immaculata before we move on to our second speaker. It's from Viviane. How the talent management was developed in this project? What risk management was developed to deal with the weaknesses identified? So I suppose people,
Yeah, we began with this to share which values we want to live, and at that time when we construct the building, the people that will integrate the team, we did some activities, some how do you call it? From activities together to make people, at one activity, for example, we were 20 people. We did gymnastic, postural gymnastic activity. We did a lunch in the beginning in order that all members of the team should work more in a more easy way, because knowing each other, it's this human dimension that sometimes we lose. It was considered, and we did with a coach, with a team coach.
You know, it's interesting. You know, we talk a lot about, certainly in the community that we're in, digitalization and technology, but perhaps the most important resource is our people, and the people we employ. And the respect, the collegiality, collaboration, all of those humanistic things you spoke about is what's important for any business to succeed. Thank you so much for your presentation. And there are other questions coming in that we can field to you towards the end. So thank you so much. So Nazi, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. Nazi will be talking about key principles of circular economy utilized in designing. Nazi Kubina is president and co-founder of Eco Intelligent Growth, a consultancy dedicated to the implementation of cradle-to-grave circular economy in industries and regions since 2007. An international expert on the subject, he's also a member of the management committee of Grupo Constructia and leads EIG's innovation strategies for the development of methodologies and tools that accelerate circular transformation and facilitate decision-making in different environments. So impressive bio there, Nazi. So if you'd like to start your presentation, thank you.
Thank you, Alan. So thank you all for having me here today. Well, we have made quite a journey on cradle-to-cradle and circular economy. And back in by the end of 2012, we joined Constructia, which is our charter client and business partner for implementing circular economy in the real estate market, but beyond the real estate market. So we're not just working in the real estate market. And Constructia was typically a general contractor, was quite a conventional general contractor company. So the first thing we did, someone was asking about a talent. I think this is a very good question, because this one, the thing that we are struggling with, how to align our needs with the talent available. I think the good news is that the talent is flourishing now. So there was almost no talent in Constructia by the time we started the journey. The main talent was, the main shareholder of the company. So it took us something like 8 years to get to this point where we are now, and what I'm going to share with you. Okay, so let me check. Okay.
That's fine, thank you.
So yeah, there's a PDF and so some project details. I think probably Johnny Bennett is coming back to these later on. This was, yeah, when we say that it was the first economy inspired project in Spain, that is correct. However, this is not the first cradle-to-cradle inspired project for EAG, because EAG were already working in the Netherlands since 2007. So what we did is that we transfer some of the knowledge we built up in the company to the project from INMA. And basically what we had is that, yeah, we had very good intentions at the very beginning. But as you probably know, good intentions, they don't deliver. I mean, they don't pay the bills, you know? So we needed to align good intentions with a good strategy with a good execution capacity, and a good execution capacity to learning by doing type of process. So this is what the process has been all about. So we started with this image that probably is well, you are familiar with. There's an image that comes from Storebrand. I've seen that Arup is a kind of a sponsor in this event. Arup is also using this, the original, the original image from this. But this is an image we've been using for almost 15 years now. And so I was working with Bill McDonough in 2007, and we started talking about defining buildings and managing buildings as material banks. And the reason why we were integrating into Grupo Construcción was that was a rehab type of company. They were mainly focused on commercial interior rehab and fit outs. And as we show them, when you talk about material flow, I mean, the shorter the use cycle of products, the bigger the material flow. So it was not an energy efficiency issue, it was not a water efficiency issue, it was a resource management issue. And that's why we started working together, you know, because Construcción at that time, they were just doing fit outs. They were not doing any new building. So we were mainly focused on how to, try to get our impact more positive by having a good strategy on material recovery, material use, and all the related issues to that, you know. Irma has mentioned it already, but we were very much in the, at the ramp up of the circular economy, definition. We were supporting the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. Indeed, we were supporting Dame Ellen MacArthur at the very beginning when she was visiting us in the Netherlands. So from the very beginning, we said that a circular economy, as Irma just mentioned, is not a sustainable or sustainability topic. Is more like an economical, socio-economical topic. So I don't consider sustainability, a journey. Sustainability is a goal. So what we need is an enabler to achieve sustainability in any kind of human activities. And me being a biologist by education, you know, we are used to deal with complex systems. So the built environment is a complex system, but it's not just because of the technical things. Just a comment on the chat saying that it's more a cultural challenge than a technical challenge, and I fully agree with that. I think the main challenge for circular economy is cultural, because circular economy is a new relationship framework that has to build up, and this is what is really challenging about a circular economy. That's one of the reasons why we started by pushing all the suppliers, most of the suppliers, we were pushing all of them, but not all of them, they took it. But in order to have what we consider at that time, well, probably the first and the only way of verifying circularity at product level, which was through the cradle-to-cradle certification program. So we started by taking the project, and we were benchmarking the different products and different material selection with the cradle-to-cradle strategy. And we developed a number of products. There were some products that were developed on purpose for this project, and there are now new products being adopted by the companies, the manufacturing companies themselves. So I'm more optimistic than him on that. I think that of course the industry is ready for that. The industry, what they need is well, they need incentives. I mean, they need a clear message that a circular design, manufacture, and managed product is a better option than a linear one. And I think there is no doubt about that. And we've been proving this for years. And I think the implementation in the GONSI project is just another proof of that, you know. The problem is how you put all the pieces together here and how you take complexity to support the process and not to go against the process. That's why this is an IPD, that was an IPD project. It was one of our first ones, probably the first one. We learned a lot of lessons, you know. One of the main lessons was to put the ego aside. We always say that dealing with the ecosystem is more complicated than dealing with the ecosystem. So yeah, this is why we did. So the cornerstone of our strategy in circular buildings, in circular real estate, is how we create value through circular building. The main thing about value creation is, okay, what is waste? How we define waste? We define waste quite well, simply. Waste is something that has no value anymore, neither for the human system or the natural system. So one of the reasons why waste exists is because we have a lack of information, whether we have a lack of information on the quality and the future of the product, or a lack of information of the asset management of this specific product, material or component, you know. So we started by developing what we call, that was our manual analogic material passport. And that was a above 25,000 tons total material management system. So well, that was quite a labor-intensive type of exercise because we were going down to the component level of every single material. That's why we were claiming a material health and safety of the product to be almost 100% because we were checking product by product, which is, by the way, this is something that is not scalable. The same thing about circularity. We were claiming almost 90% of circularity, considering that, the soil that was removed was settled on the side. But in the end of the days, well, you want to standardize this process. You cannot do it manually because the amount of data and the amount of work that needs to be done is monumental here. So, well, the administration is supporting this idea. I mean, if you look at levels, for instance, it seems to be the new framework, aspirational framework for high sustainability standards within the European community. We started this project by the time that the first draft of levels was released. So we were very much keeping an eye on that. And well, basically what we said is that this is a kind of a game changer for the built environment. So whether this is a new product, new building, or is a rehab or fit out of an existing building or any other built infrastructure, they don't necessarily need to be buildings. It's always the same scheme, you know. So we need to have an idea, a project. If there's an existing building, what is the status of the existing situation? How we can align the design and the different design team to get the goals of the project. Then the construction, how we can monitor everything from A to Z. And then the exploitation phase. And the exploitation phase is not only about the use of the building, but it's also the next use of the building itself or what has been embodied in the building. So that's why we need a digital system. And on the blue strip here, you can see this is we have a collaboration with a French company, software developing company called Absiclea, and we are co-developing. I mean, we are starting with their software, but now we are putting a lot of new layers to that, So that's why we think that digitalization can heavily support this process to transition from linear to circular. So when you look at the circular signature, which is the digital one of the lessons learned is that there's little room for any kind of subjective analysis. So this is a binary system, is 1 or 0. So the information and how you are uploading the information in the system is key. And this is one of the things that we learned in this project. We did first our material passport, and then when we did our digital passport, we found out that we had still a lack of information. For instance, we had a lot of, all our plumbing system was PVC free, and it was cradle-to-cradle certified, but still we have a lack of information on these products. So why this is important for us is because in order to take a circular economy mainstream, and Constructia wants to become at least 80% circular in the year 2022, probably the highest and most ambitious record in the market. We need a system that is scalable, that can be manageable, that can be doable, and that can be valuable, So, we need to take it to the next level. And that's why we are turning all this into a digital process. So when you look at we have developed our KPIs. Some of them, they are well known. Basically, in the system, what we have are 2 different levels of KPIs. They are the KPIs that we took from the product passports. So things like the carbon footprint, whether it's a scope 1, 2, or 3. For most of the information we have, we don't have a scope 3. But we are really dealing with the carbon footprint and embodied energy and embodied carbon information. In this particular case, for instance, the carbon footprint was relatively low because, all the foundations that they probably account for, probably more than 80% of the total weight of the system. I'm not considering the digital passport, because we don't see a value on the reutilization of the foundation product. However, we do see a value on the potential reutilization of the structural work, and the same thing for all the other elements. So, the attributes we're measuring through this lean to cradle material passport are 5. So we always say that in circularity, safe goes first. So we need to make sure that we have a safe products and a safe space before measuring any circularity. We want to circulate goods, not just bags. So that's very important. This is a very cradle-to-cradle inspired type of approach. So we start with the material health that I showed already in the previous graph. So then we look at the carbon footprint. There is a long way to go with carbon footprint because we have data stability issues. We have a number of, there's no standardization process yet. And at the same time, we also want to speak a new language of carbon, which is what happens with carbon when carbon is not just a fuel, but it's also matter and it's also material, and what happens with carbon in the circular economy. So we are developing what we call the first methodology for circular carbon assessment. Has not been yet done for this project. The third thing is, the circularity value. So what is the potential for reutilization of everything that goes into the building? This material passport accounts only for the core and shell part of the building. So it doesn't include all the design elements, which is going to bring quite a lot of new information here. But this, of course, it doesn't depend on us, it doesn't depend on INMA, it also depends on the new tenants and the new occupants of the building. And we made a first calculation, which is the one thing, the 4 attribute that a lot of people is asking us for, which is, okay, if you say that a circular building has a higher value than a linear building because of the liabilities, because of the healthiness of the building itself, because of all the other aspects, material scarcity, I mean, production cost containment and all these kind of things. Okay, I buy it. But what about the next value of the product and the different products? And this is one of the major challenges we are facing. I mean, how we can do circular building valuing and how we can define residual value for the whole building and for the different building systems. As you remember that in my first slide about a building as a material bank, I was talking about layers. So we are facing and we are addressing a building as a multi-layer system. And why data is so important? This is because was the gap analysis. We were running this gap analysis for every single attribute. And the gap analysis is giving us information on, for instance, whether manufacturers, they have enough data in their system, whether they use CPDs or they use any other kind of information. I mean, is the information good enough for product circularity? And well, this is challenging. I mean, a lot of the data that has been created in product-specific product specs and material safety data sheet, all this is all based on a linear economy. So that's why we need to ask new questions now. That's why we need to define the new requirements and criteria through product circularity data sheets. The good news is that, for instance, the Minister of Economy of Luxembourg is already releasing and making a suggestion about a new system for product circularity data sheet that is very much in line with our cradle-to-cradle approach, by the way. So in the last, what we need is to avoid waste. What we need is to avoid inefficiencies. What we need is to design for abundance. What we need is to have a regenerative building. It's not just about delivering a building. It's about what is the real impact. If you really want to state that you have a positive, which is something very aspirational, by the way, you need to go, down to the molecular level, but you also need to make sure that what you want to deliver is going to have, a next use and a potential next use in the society, So that's why we are already working with suppliers, with brokers, with people that they are already helping us with the resource management part. And this is quite challenging because if the system is linear, the resource management system is not just linear, it's totally opaque. So most of this is an informal type of industry, and we want to bring clarity and light to this informal industry. That's why we are starting to work not only with manufacturing companies, that they can work on a closed loop system. There is a misunderstanding about circular economy. Circular economy is not about closed loop. Closed loop is more a linear economy type of risk mitigation system. Circular economy needs to be open metabolism and needs to be open source. Otherwise, thermodynamically speaking, it's not possible because we would work against entropy. So that's why we need to set up an interdependent open metabolism system. That's why, for instance, we are starting to work here in Spain with a company like Soros, which is already dismantling big infrastructure like wind farms. And and I think we have a big idea of how to scale it up to the real estate market as well. So this is my last slide. All this probably sounds good, but okay, how we go to the investors, how we speak the language of the investor funds, how we translate all these KPIs and parameters into something that can be measured. So we've been putting a lot of energy on developing what we call the circular share value. So how we capture the value to business in monetary terms, and how we capture the value to the society also in monetary terms. So the thing is, and that's why we talk about having a positive impact, and that's why we are developing impact assessment indicators now, because the combination of the short-term financial oriented world with the mid-long-term sustainability focus. Well, this is what makes circular economy possible. I mean, we need to speak the language, all around the process. Otherwise, it will take decades, and we don't have decades for that. I'm finished.
Thank you, Nazi. Very powerful message there. I'm learning loads about circular economy. That last piece, that circular economy is not about the loop, is interesting. And but the big message I got from you, and indeed from Ima, was if we want to transform, there's lots of talk about transformation, digital transformation. It's not about digital transformation, it's a cultural change. We just need to think differently. Because if we don't think differently, we may not be in business in 5 or 10 years' time in this sector. That's how powerful this is.
Yeah.
So I hope there are clients here today listening to this message. So many questions. I might take one question for you, if that's okay, from the chat, and then we move on to our final presentation. I suppose it's the most difficult question for you. I don't know if you can answer this one. How did you calculate the carbon footprint of this building?
Well, in this
a nice figure there. How did you do it?
Yeah, well, it was quite simple. I mean, we were looking at scope 1 and 2 for product manufacturers. So the criteria was when the information was complete, we were using the data. When the information was not complete or was not reliable, we just, put it aside, you know. So that's why when we put a product in a specific place, we call it a deposit. That's why we don't have the same amount of deposits when we calculate the carbon footprint as compared to when we calculate the material health, because the information on material health and carbon footprint is not as complete. I mean, it's not comparable in terms of...
Yeah. Any figures that you see on these dashboards, they look impressive. They're in nice colors and graphs and things. But at the end of the day, the viability of how that figure was arrived at is so important, isn't it? That you can rely on these KPIs.
Yeah, we have a sensitive analysis here that we are crossing data with the reliability of data. With, it's an algorithm we use to calculate. It's not just a simple calculation. It's more like, okay, how reliable the information is. And then we apply the cradle-to-cradle principle. When there is no information, there is no rule.
So I know, yeah.
Zero.
The other powerful message before we go on to Jordi, is you mentioned that in this building, Socrates building, that there was new products developed that were not even envisaged prior to the project. So going back to Ima's message about opportunity, surely this is an opportunity for manufacturers to develop new products that they can then exploit on future projects, no?
Absolutely. I think that's why we say that we need to put incentives, all along the value chain, you know. So one of the incentives, for instance, I give you an example of a concrete manufacturing company, which is quite a conventional concrete manufacturing company. And by the time we started to talk to them, they said, yeah, but in the end of the day, you are going to buy by price, or the cheapest, the best for you, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, that's not the case. We're going to have a more complex, material selection process and supply selection process. And one of the things we asked this concrete manufacturing company to get a cradle-to-cradle certified product. But that time was the very first concrete product, cradle-to-cradle certified in Southern Europe.
Okay. Interesting.
It's just inspiring other companies, you know?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Fascinating presentation. I've taken lots of notes here. I'll be probably quoting you in the future at various events. Thank you so much. So to our final speaker, Jordi. Jordi was the first person I contacted about this to get these three special speakers together. So you're very welcome, Jordi. And as the architect on this project, you might bring us through this case study.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
I just might introduce Jordi, if I may. Sorry, apologies. Jordi is convinced that sustainable architecture should be sexy, affordable, flexible, healthy, circular and resilient, or it isn't fully sustainable. He's an architect, a partner in PIC Architects, an architectural team from Barcelona, specializing in sustainability and technological innovation on projects and buildings. Jordi is the president of the Chamber of the Catalan Professional Construction Services Companies, Cambria Professional, vice president of FICOCAT, Catalan Federation of Building, Trade and Construction Services. He's also founder and board member of OBRA, the Municipal Observatory for Rehabilitation in Barcelona, and founder of GIXSU, Interest Group for Sustainability in Barcelona. A very busy man. Yeah. So we're looking forward to your presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. I will share now the screen. Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's important that all of us, we try to use part of our time to develop the conditions of to make that change. Not only producing products or projects or whatever, but trying to impact on a larger scale. In my case, trying to activate the public sector and the private sector and the industry, and to make the change that one of the key milestones of the change is the circularity. This is why I'm so happy to be here today. But in architecture, circular economy is an ingredient that is the baseline of the transformation. But it's not the only, as was mentioned before, it's not the only issue we should focus on. But I like to think it more like Chinese health. Medicine, like we should act on several ways, in several layers, to improve the way we build and the way we relate to the world in general. And if we do it globally, we will be able to speed this procedure, and that's why if buildings are circular, they should be more interesting. And I think that we designers should push every button to make our buildings not only circular, but healthier and more attractive. And so it's a bit like, for instance, I'm a consumer of ecological elements, food, and when somebody tells me, oh, it's a bit more expensive, I buy cheaper, I tend to tell it's not so expensive, and it tastes better, and it's healthier, and and I don't need to eat so much if I eat good food, so I keep thin, and I don't have to go to the gym. And so it's a circle again. It's a circle of positive things that we can activate with these kind of strategies that, with the whole, will improve the way we relate to the world, will improve the impact that we have, and as people and as technical, and this is something that we should be used to do it on and on. And one of the things, of course, of an architect, main thing is developing projects and buildings. This is a part of a thing. I'm not the person that has been involved more in the project. There is a huge team of very involved people on these and other projects, and but this relations in this circle that will allow this transformation has several layers that I was talking about before. That is mainly environmental, economical, and social. And if we push that way, we will get a lot of transformations. There are some of them here, like the lower material impact through a building, of course, the proximity of the components, the recyclability, the flexibility to avoid buildings obsolescence, zero waste building production, low energy, dry assembled components, industrialization. So, for instance, these dry assembled components, industrialization, this opens a wider focus, a wider line of improvement in our society. So industries that tend to produce better, they will create value, and they will be able to export this value to. So it's a virtuous cycle in every separate point that we should understand as a whole. So in the economical way, so this higher efficiency, of course, it's quite logic. This industry's development, the cost control, in the social level, the circular economy should enable the adaptation of quick changing society demands through these flexible buildings, without needing to demolish and to so the building itself are prepared to change and incorporate the change into the design of the buildings. Health, of course. If we build reasonably better, then our cities will be less impacted by noise, smoke. So things like industrialization, etc., are positive also in social way. Health and security during construction. So this is something we should just activate ourselves, even if nobody is asking us, because it's not necessarily more expensive, and it's on the global scale. It's I dare to say it's cheapest if we can activate the whole scale of the procedure. We cannot afford keep doing things like that, how can we do it? This is also a multi-level approach through architecture. We must collaborate with several different agents that it's also mentioned already. We have technology like the digital twins, the life cycle analysis. We can understand buildings as an infrastructure and separate. We'll speak about again of the layers. Understand the product as a service. Understand how we change the way we relate with buildings and with ownerships today. The extended producer responsibility. So these design strategies are there. We can focus on them. We must keep working to deep into that, because this is really useful not only for the economical circularity, but for the users finally. These are the several layers that were already mentioned before. A building is not a thing that you build and you dismantle, but this is an organism. And if you understand this, a building as an organism, and that relates with the several components that have several rhythms and several specifications, we should design every line of this structure relating to the needs and the potential of every part of the building, and of course elements should be attached. The attach should be visibly So a building is a device that can express how it is built. So you should be able to learn when you visit a building about construction. So if we go through the forest, we can learn about nature. Why cannot we learn about buildings when we visit a building and see how things are composed, how things work? So this is a basis of 20th century architecture and 19th century engineering. They were quicker. So we must produce buildings that enlighten people on how things work, how nature works at the end, and how technology and human design works. This is also circularity. So in Socrates, I will go quick because many things have been already mentioned. This is some of the views of the building. The building that is, of course, it's protected from the different orientations. It has a core that is a void, and this also relates to a new way of living the work buildings, the offices, and the industrial 4.0 industry building like this one. So the heart of the building is a void. And this void is shared by that illuminates the interior and makes it spaces. These are spaces we'll see after some pictures of meeting and networking and relating one with the other. So this interchange and exchange of knowledge and human and human experience is also part of the architecture. So again, the building is not an object; is a device that enables life enter into the spaces. Flexibility. It's the building is a grid of 10 meters. So there are a few pillars, and there is the maximal flexibility. So everybody that in the future will want to change the fit out or whatever, they will find spaces that are flexible and they can do any change without surprises, without finding installations or pillars in the middle, or it's really an infrastructure that is prepared to whatever it happens in the future. This grid of 10 per 10 meters is everywhere. So the pillars are always the same, the beams are, etc. And in terms of flexibility, there is the possibility of going up one level with heavy vehicles. So there are 2 ground floor levels that also gives flexibility for the purpose of the building, which is 4.0 industry. And after that, there are the more office type spaces, not accessible by these vehicles. So this versatility, these spaces with natural light protected, but with natural light everywhere, and related with the core, with the void, central void of the building. There's the facade is an active element that has installations in the facade that protects from the solar radiation and lets the view. This is a micro-perforated screen, protects and lets the view out perfectly from the inside. So multi-purpose things that we get with a single element. This is another thing we should build less. So not only less materials, but less components. So the current technology allows us to have systems that can serve to multi-purpose uses. So why, if we want to protect and we want to hide and we want to let the site out, we must use three things. So maybe a simple and cheap thing can do this triple function, no? Or while the structure with its massivity, maybe it can give the mass to get the thermal comfort, and maybe we don't need a false ceiling that is useless. So we should ask ourselves before we decide to put something on our building if it's really the best solution, or there is a simple one that brings more potential in. This is a typology, several spaces through all the levels. The current shell with a technical floor, but it's inside. These are the open spaces that are flexible and that can be used, and people can meet, and they can go up the building without entering a lift or a closed staircase. They can reach their space without through the exterior. They can. It's like a small village or a small like an urban circulation inside the building. Exterior protected from the rain, but exterior with view to the street and the park that is below from this space straight, and so this is a bit the heart of the building where that brings light in and brings sociability. There are several terraces, and of course the top terrace, the roof. So here a community can be and community can be from different companies, which is even better. So different people can meet and can interchange. So architecture is bringing life into spaces. It's not just building. And here is something that is also related with circular economy. This circularity is not only material, but it is also the energy that buildings can produce and retrofit to make things a bit better. A parking lot. Why do we need to close it and ventilate? And well, it's underground, of course, but it can have a natural ventilation and illumination. The building as a assembly of components. So here there was no waste document for the city council, because city councils here ask for a paper when you have to pay some money to make sure all waste will go to the deposit, etc. We did not need to do that. Every component was made with good conditions elsewhere within the factory, and here it was assembled without losing the so generating waste on the office on the site. Several technology systems that can help. And there are systems that they have guarantees, etc. This is also important, and of course there were calculations about natural light improvement, and design is not something that at the end of it we calculate how it works, but it's a constant procedure where calculation and design go again and again in loops to get the best solution. This goes together with digital twin dynamics and data, and working with data, not with intuition. This is also important. Intuition is cool, but we need to turn this intuition into something that can be calculated before the construction and before the development of the next phase of the project. So this 4 kilo square meter of waste generated on site is ridiculous. So it's and the waste re-evaluated is almost 100%. It's easier if we used a few components which add value, real value, instead of the traditional way of doing things that, like, there were 5,000 systems and components and one brick here, one brick there, and distances, and so it's better to focus and to work better. So it's like Japanese food. So it's high quality components. And that you can see them, you can see all the components, you can understand how the sushi is made, or the etc. It's not like a soup that you don't know what is there. Light building, material passport, certification, etc. And here just a couple of pictures of other two projects we're in Viladecans 2, really close to the building. We are doing the project of a business center that already exists. It has around 30,000 square meters. They asked us to double this surface with the new model of office and terraces, and that we saw in Socrates building. Here we'll let a park on the lower level, and offices will only be on top, like the shades that produce to the park. So it's parking, a public park, and offices are 100% over the park. This is the whole of it. Now there is a ground that is lower from the streets, and we will keep this space to open it to the city and to the people. And the buildings will all again be like these terraces and circulation that illuminate and connect the interior working spaces. And changing the type of buildings. Here's a project about residential project with open source industrial system. So it's not is a system that we designed, but any company can do it, even if it's steel or wood or concrete is compatible with that. There is simple components that can be assembled inside and that have large spans, structural spans, and they can provide multiple textures and typologies and facade systems, etc. With this, so with just few structural elements and components, we can guarantee what for urban purposes is very important, so that these dynamics don't turn into a Soviet Union architecture type. So we should try to be more efficient, but not to build things more repetitive and simple, but to turn complexity and flexibility through economic dynamics into our cities. And this is a bit the aim of our work. I thank you for your attention, and I'm open to questions.
Thank you, Jordi. It was a very excellent presentation, and that message at the end was very interesting. I know we've had a comment in the chat about welcoming, modularization, industrialization, and we don't want that tower block Soviet feel to our city landscape. And so it's using the kind of the benefits of industrialization, repeatability, flexibility, and incorporating that. We're going to hear more of that, I think, later in the year when we finish with our cities message. So thank you so much. You must share your diet with me. You have this special diet, yeah?
Yeah.
I've been sitting down too much at my computer, and my jacket, had difficulty putting my jacket on this afternoon. But anyway, so I need to watch myself and watch my diet. So really, it's interesting. You touched there on, you mentioned digital twins, but there was very little mention today about BIM. So I'm assuming the BIM is in the background supporting the design process.
Yes. Yes. Currently, we almost only work through BIM, but BIM only is not the answer. So
absolutely,
BIM procedures must be related with all the agents and must be organized to gain all the potential that BIM technologies have. And this is something we are learning again and again, and each year we are more capable of producing BIMs that not only help as a tool to do plans, but to help industrials to fabricate.
There is
and the tenants to manage the building. So it's this whole economic cycle of buildings has in BIM a tool that is underused its whole potential today.
I know it's a big challenge for many sectors, including our own sector here in Ireland, to get companies, particularly SMEs, to use BIM. But at the end of the day, it's only a tool to support and to change the way from working with 2D to multiple dimensions. So the debate about BIM sort of is over now. It's like it should be ubiquitous in our industry. We can learn a lot from our UK and our Nordic neighbours who are using this for many, many, many years. But it's just refreshing not to hear too much about BIM today, but to know that it's there doing its work. So maybe if our three speakers could all put their cameras on, and we'll invite some comments from the delegates. Really powerful messages. I thoroughly enjoyed this afternoon. I always say, at every event, how great this was. But this was a special event, I think. Hearing from a client, hearing from Nazi, the expert, and hearing from the architect who are doing it. I think it was at the very start. I think it might have been Nazi that said, we learn by doing. Or maybe, yes, that was it. Yeah, you learn by doing. And that's really what we have to do. So we have a comment there from Libre Callahan. Would you say the slow uptake of the circular economy in construction is due to culture rather than technical barriers? I think we've covered that, but maybe, Nazi, if you would deal with that one. You talked a lot about this.
Yeah. As I said before, I think to build up an economy, you need a different relationship system, And in the natural world, these relations, they have been built for almost 4 billion years. Due to the natural evolution of things.
Yeah, yes.
In the human environment, you need to push them. And for instance, one of the things, when you talk about technical barriers, is there a technical barriers to make a circular design plywood? Or is there a technical barrier to make a circular design lighting? There's not. Those barriers don't exist really. the barrier here is, okay, what is the incentive between the designer, the manufacturing company, the user, and then the guy who's going to take care of the products after the first use, So what are the incentives at every different steps of the system? And that's why this, as you said, this is a multi-dimensional system. And we can, by the way, we can learn the lessons from BIM. That's why is BIM not fully operational? It's the cultural thing.
Yeah, it's culture, and there's no doubt that, as Alveri said in her message, this is a big challenge. But perhaps if companies can see the benefits and the opportunities that Emma spoke about in our first presentation, then maybe we can change that. Comment there from Brian Cassidy: is disassembly and reuse becoming more difficult with using modern manufactured materials? Would it be difficult to dismantle that building?
No, it will be easier.
Easier.
We were measuring the dismantling capacity of the building.
Okay.
That's part of the circularity indicator. One of the issues we're facing, because when we make our digital passport, we are combining products with construction solutions. One of the issues is that, the information you get from manufacturers is not the same as the one you get from installing companies. So one of the challenges we're facing is, to find out what kind of construction solutions the installing companies are using. What are the glues? What are the sealants? What are the binders? What are the joints? All these reports in circularity.
We have another question there. Did you consider CLT as for the structure rather than concrete, or is this too difficult in Spain with risk of termites?
No, CLT. It's possible, perfectly possible to keep track with this termites even here. So this is not a problem. The market is evolving, and the CLT some years ago here was not very affordable and not very present. There were not too many companies who could provide that, and it is changing quickly. So price is also dropping from what it was years ago, and CLT is a choice, a current choice, but you've got things that you gain and some things you lose. For instance, massivity that the concrete has is something that is interesting for thermal, and so it's always. I think there is in architecture shouldn't be like a food that is evil and the one that is super healthy. We can die if we drink 5 liters of water from one in 1 minute. So it's I think it's evolving, and we change the way each building is a bit different. And CLT, of course, it has today a biggest impact that or presence that we had when this building began. But it's a choice. It's a real choice.
Okay, we're just coming up to 4 minutes to 2 o'clock. I promised to finish on time, so I think all of our presenters today could have spoken at any stage in the world and got a resounding applause for the quality of the presentations. They were world class, genuinely, really, really interesting. This event has been recorded, so we hope that we can maybe push this out through social media, and we hope also that maybe you can network with some Irish businesses here, and maybe there could be opportunities for us to meet in the future. So thank you, Emma and Nazi and Jordi. And I'm just going to ask Shannon and thank you to our delegates this afternoon for attending us and staying with us. I hope you enjoyed the event as much as I have done. Our next event on the 2nd of September in this series will focus on an aspect that actually all of our speakers spoke about this afternoon, which was material manufacturers. And indeed, I'd refer to the fact that Nazi talked about new product manufacturing as a business opportunity. So we'll be focusing on that in September, and then also we'll be moving in November to wrap up the series by looking at going back to the larger picture, circular cities and so on. Ellen MacArthur is in my sights to see if we can get her in November, because every presentation we've had has made reference to her foundation's work. So if you have any contacts to get through to Ellen, let me know. So thank you so much. We're committed to this series, Sita. I know it's a little bit out of our comfort zone, but I think it's important, and there was a mention of digitalization today, so it's important that we look at the bigger picture of why we need to digitize to create a better world and a more efficient world and a more sustainable world. So I just want to talk a little bit about our conferences coming up in September. The seat have been gathering. The 5th event, 3 days, 3 half days. We've got in excess of 40 abstracts submitted, so we hope to have a good suite of papers. We'll have a theme for each day. We're making some progress with our keynotes, and we'll be announcing those hopefully in the next week to 10 days. We'll have speakers from across the world, so I hope you can join us for that. And that's looking at innovations for future generations and so on. So does that bring us to a close? I'd like to thank our speakers today, Emma, Nazi and Jordi, to the seated team for all their great work in the background, to our sponsors. Without you, we wouldn't really put this together. And to you, our delegates, for staying with us. And so our next event is on the 24th of, our next event is on the 24th of June, I believe. We're looking at digital twins. This is the Tech Trend series. There was some talk about digital twins today. Also in early July, 8th of July, we'll be looking at e-commerce, taking a break then until September. We'll be back in September with the circular economy series, and also in November. So thank you so much. And the sun is shining here, so I want to try and catch some of that before my next meeting in an hour. So thank you so much, guys.
Thanks a million, everyone. Thanks so much.
Super presentations. We're so happy.